Hey guys, Priju here. In this video we're going to create some graphs using Figma variants. Now this is part of a series in which we're creating an entire design system from scratch, and if you're interested in seeing the previous episodes, you can check out the playlist on the right hand side, but you can also follow along just this one video without necessarily have to go through everything. And I'm going to leave the link of this file afterwards, so you're going to have it available. So let's get started, and what I did here is I basically have this boiler template which we're using just to have like real life dimensions to our UI components which we're creating. And what I did here is I just created this rectangle right here, and we're going to create a few variations of sizes for these graphs so that we can have just a bit of different just different variations really. So we're going to go with these two sizes right here. Let me just group this, bring it to the top, and we probably don't even need this or barely. So yeah, we're just going to get started by creating the first one. So I'm going to bring this guy right here, and we're going to make this a little bit bigger in height, and we're going to add some elements. Now, as you might have noticed, I added these layout grids just to have some visual references in order to like build our project around it. And the way that I did it is really simple. Just click on the plus on the layout grid, change from grid to columns, and then I set these values right here, which you can replicate really easily. Now let's go here and let's write graph bars, and what we're gonna do is we're going to start adding some of these graph bars right here. So this is going to be the first one, and it's going to be pretty rough at first, so let's just make it fill blue. And another thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to just hide this layout grid for a bit, make this completely, oh actually this is an instance. Let's detach the instance. You're not going to have this issue if you simply create a rectangle, which actually let's do that. So let's just create a rectangle from scratch so we don't have this issue. And we're going to change the color maybe to this green, and let's make it a value of 8. And I'm going to double click in order to access these vector points. I'm going to round them up all the way. And this is going to help us create the very first bar. Now, as I have this, I'm going to use Option plus Shift in order to duplicate this while using the left mouse button. Then I'm going to use Command D in order to duplicate this just a few times in a very easy and straightforward way. Alright, so we have this graph going on, and so we're going to change the different values just to change things up a little bit and make it more varied. And as you can see, we have our nice little graph bars. Now let's consider making it maybe even giving it less width, and I'm probably going to just bring this a little bit more on the right, and there we go. All right, now another thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a line beneath these guys, and I'm going to essentially change the color to something which is a little bit lighter. So maybe this gray right here, or even this one could work pretty well. I'm going to duplicate these one time, and then I'm going to kind of like center this element right here, And let's bring these guys below. All right, going to pull out the layers panel in order to see what's going on essentially. And let's just bring this guy here, and then going to select all of these rectangles, distribute horizontally. I'm also going to use Command R in order to rename in bulk these graph bars. And there we go. I'm going to do the same for the line. And we're pretty much set and good to go. All right, now what I want to do is to add some values right here. So I'm going to copy and paste these text values. So the first one is going to be 0, 1. I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller, since these are kind of like elements which needs to be smaller than our average text. All right, and let's distribute horizontally. There we go. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to also add here value of -1, -2, -3. And we are pretty much set and good to go. All right, so we have our graph, and another thing we can consider is maybe like making some of these lighter for whatever reason that might be useful. Maybe that's a little bit too light, or even darker, so we can have like this mixed feeling almost. And yeah, all right, so far so good. Another thing I want to add here definitely is the 3 dots, which we already had in one of these components that we previously built out. I think it was somewhere around here. I remember we added like some 3 dots. Oh, here we go, in the cards UI that we created yesterday. All right, so here we have this guy. We're going to bring right here, and let's just double check that it's aligned. Yeah, I think we're good to go. And yeah, this is now working pretty well, and it's going to serve us as the very first basic component. Now, what you're gonna notice is, well, first of all, let's just detach this instance, and I'm going to actually recreate this rectangle, since I don't want the base to be an instance. Basically what I did here, guys, is I just added all sorts of I just added the rectangle of the previous calendar buttons, so, or UI components. So that's essentially the reason why you had to do this. Just create the rectangle at first and you won't have this issue. It's just something which I did really quickly to kind of like wrap the dimensions up, but yeah, just forget about that and just create a rectangle and you're good to go. You don't even have to do this this part of the process. All right, so far so good. And what we're gonna do is essentially going to double check that everything is good inside. I'm going to rename this to background, and yeah, I think we're pretty much good to go. Maybe let's just group this into a graph group, and let's ungroup and create a component out of this. All right, so the moment we create a component, we can see how this is going to behave, and kind of wanted to just make this one act differently. For example, this guy stay on the left. As you can see, they're going to be more scalable more easily. And then I wanted the graph elements try and stay like in center at least. And although it's not or we can also just keep it on scale. So let's do that. Not how much I need to undo these at this point, but yeah. So all right, I think it's okay for now. So one other thing that we're gonna do is we're going to create another variation of this, and use the same size as we have here, but we're going to essentially change and the width of these guys, so that it's going to be the same as the previous one. So I'm going to detach the instance, and I'm going to select these 6. As you can see, boom, we have our graphs, and maybe we want them just a little bit wider in this case. So as you can see, you can adapt it based on the specific scenario, or actually even instead of doing this, what we're gonna do is we're going to create another variation of this element. So I'm going to duplicate this graph just one more time, and I'm going to have like this double graph feeling to it, if that makes sense. And yeah, this is looking interesting. Trying to figure out what is going to make more sense. Maybe have like one graph like this, and another one is going to be darker. Yeah, let's just do that as a test. And then the second ones are going to be the darker graphs. Here we go. Let's just change the orientations, just so that we make it different from the current one. I always like to mix things up when it comes to the visuals of these graphs. Now potentially for this longer graphs, you can even add one more element. So something around these lines, we can make it like very light. I think it's looking okay. Or even like that. In this case, maybe let's just bring it to the left, so we have like this nice gradient going on for us. And yeah, I think this is working pretty well. All right, let's make it smaller. Let's make it smaller, and we're pretty much set and ready to call it a component officially. So let's just double check that this is all centered though. This one's okay. Maybe this one here. All right. We're pretty much set to call it a component. All right. Probably just going to group these elements together, just because it's quite a bit of layers on this specific graph. So just want to kind of like be cautious with the amount of layers, like all at one time. Group. All right, and we are pretty much set and ready to move on to the next one, which is going to be a colored, like different color variations of these. And probably also another thing that I'm noticing is the fact that I want to tweak the distance between the elements here on the left. So I'm probably just going to add a little bit of more spacing in between, I guess. So, and actually one thing that we can consider is just making them just a tiny bit, yeah, I'm not too sure about this, 3, 5, like work. This is kind of like going in, being a little bit picky about the distances, but hey, that's sometimes like small differences like this can make quite a big difference. So always keep that stuff in mind. All right, so I'm going to move this one right here. Select all of these, distribute horizontal spacing, bring this element here. I'm going to deep select, distribute horizontal spacing here as well. And yeah, I think we are pretty much good to go. All right, so far so good. Have the component, and let's make it into a variant. And what we're gonna do is we're going to bring this variant right here. Going to call it graph, and we're going to basically make this into a component, bring it right inside this variants panel right here. All right, so far so good. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to rename this to first of all size small, then color equal green. Let's copy and paste this. We're going to call it medium. All right, so far we're proceeding in the right direction. And what we are going to do is we're going to create other variations of this, which are going to be using different colors. So For example, let's do this. And let's select this one and this one. Let's select all of these guys. This one's going to be this one, and this one, and this orange. All right, now let's do the same. And I'm actually thinking about a better layout. Not really thrilled about this one specifically. So I'm just going to bring all of these elements side by side. We're going to just do it like one on top of the other. Just going to be easier. And let's duplicate this another time and another time. And we're going to create the other variations. All right, I think we can make it even easier on ourselves by simply selecting all of it like this. And what color am I going to select? Of course, the blue. And actually, let's select the blue here on top, even before that. And we have our nice blue variation. And now let's go with something more neutral, like this gray with a blue tint. And yeah, here we go. Or actually, let's try another one. Let's try maybe like this darker tint. Yeah, it could work as well. Or even the red. Let's try them all, as these are going to be really useful. So okay, we don't really have the like the dark tint of red. So we're going to use something around these lines. And yeah, I like this one better. So we're just going to change here the color in the properties panel, since you're going to see in a moment how this is going to apply. Basically, adding these properties in the form of names of layers is going to give you some options in this form of drop-down. But you're going to see that in just a moment. It's going to be easier to show than actually speak it through. So the only thing that you need to double check is that the size is medium or small, and the color is the correct one. So yeah, once all of this is done and we go back to our boiler template and we go under assets and we select the graph element, you're going to see that here on the right, you're going to have the option to either choose between the small and the medium size, and between each and every color which we created just a moment ago in this video tutorial. So I hope this video was helpful. I want to remind you that I recently launched a free course on how to get started in UI UX design. So feel free to check it out if you're interested in that topic, and I'll see you in the next video.